So we're going to break it down. What is this? This is an old camera, but it's actually better to use this old camera to explain how a modern camera works, because the camera basics are old, like really old. So this is like my go-to camera 25 years ago or so. And photography means painting with light, and that is what we're doing. But the art is actually how to get. I just opened it up so you can see that here, in the old days, we had film, which then got pulled from here over this thing and over here, where it was sort of like winded up. Every time we took a photo, we went like this, and then we pressed the shutter, and this opened up, and then we could take a picture. And I could show it maybe even more precisely if I take off the lens. And then we can see that now in the old days I will turn and make ready for a picture, and then you can see inside here, you can see me. You can see also, if I put it this way around, you'll be able to see me through in here, like so. Yeah, I can't really see what I'm doing, so but I think you can see that in here there's now open, and the film roll was here, and then going over to here when it was finished, and then it was sort of like twisted around this thing here. And when we're finished with 36 shots, then we had to take it to be developed, right? That was the old days. Some of you guys, girls, will not remember, because you won't remember because you've not seen it. My arms are getting heavy here, but that was a long exposure. This was something you would use for shooting stars or whatever. But the first entry point a camera presents is the lens. So if you see inside here, there is a little hole, and now it got big. You see that? It turns up and down. That's what we call aperture, and that is measured in f-stops. So this little hole here, can hardly see it, is 22. And this thing here is called 2.8. And that seems a bit weird, that the smaller it gets, the bigger the number. It is because if you take the time factor and multiply it by the f-stop, then if you for instance, if you say, okay, so 22 times 1 second, well, that's 22. But if we sort of say, okay, so we're now gonna have the same amount of light come in, then we have to sort of say, okay, so if I have 2.8, then I would need to have the lens open just tenths of a second to get the same, or my math is probably a little bit off, but you can see that obviously if we're gonna have the right exposure, then this takes in a lot of light and this takes in almost no light. But if we're going to take in the same amount of light, then we need to have this one only for this one has to be for a long exposure time, it has to be open for a long time, and this thing here has to be open very shortly to give the same amount of light. Makes good sense, right? So that's why. So that the bigger the entry point of light is, the smaller the number, because it requires less light. You got it? So a small number in terms of f-stop means not so much light, and a big number means needs a lot of light. Okay, I don't know if that made a sense putting it like that, but that's how it is. So yeah, if you use the small hole, you will get a very good depth of clarity in the picture, meaning my face will be sharp and the background will also be sharp if it is being run with this thing here, very small thing. But it requires a lot of light, because otherwise I need to have this on a tripod and stand completely still, because if I need to have a lot of light, I need to have it open for a long time, and then it can shake and you get these shaken pictures. So if you're going to use the very small f-stop here with the high number, meaning needs a lot of light, you most likely need to have a tripod or a very steady hand, okay? And when we go to the big one, big, huge, then we don't need much time to have it open. You can see that actually my face is upside down. If you go and have a look through the lens, I don't know if you can see that. You can see it here. I'm upside down. We're not going to go into these things that a lens is doing, but it does some very interesting things. Anyway, so looking at the so let's just summarize here. The f-stop aperture is the hole. How big is it? The smaller the hole, the more depth do we have, meaning not only one place is sharp but also the background is sharp. If you want to make a nice portrait, you use something like this, the big hole, because that means that only my face will be sharp, and this background, which you can see actually right now, is not blurred, but if we want to sort of like emphasize my face, we will use this big hole, and then it will be only my face which will be sharp and the background will be completely blurred, which could be a nice effect, right? Okay, so that is the f-stop aperture, one of the three basics here.